Hello, it's me, Aaron, and today I wanted to talk about the Soulscape tutorials, one by one, and along the way, rank them in a tier list. Anyways, let's just begin right away. So, Demon Souls tutorial is pretty good. Yeah, not bad. So, we start in the Outpost passage, and the first thing we come across is a message on the ground. So, in like all except for one, the Souls game have a message system. Players can, with predetermined words and phrases, give advices, make a little joke, or even trick other players. And one thing I love is that it also has some lore. The item description of the orange guidance soapstone reads, "Messages transmit to other worlds where they are rated. Also rate messages of others. In Lordran, the flow of time is distorted, and messages allow undead to assist or deceive one another." And so, making the normally annoying tutorial pop-ups that often break your immersion, reminds you that you're in a video game, and often take you for an idiot as well, has now a lore explanation, and it doesn't jump scare me out of the experience anymore. And instead, we just understand that it's a message from another chosen undead, good hunter, or slayer demon, trying to help you. And that's just great. And it will become a trend in the rest of From Software's tutorials to use the normally multiplayer exclusive messages in the tutorials. So, going forward now, you'll encounter the first enemies. Weak, slow, predictable, and easy to dodge attacks. Even if they don't prepare you really well for any other enemies, they still help you familiarize with the combat of Demon Souls if you've never played any game like it before. The rest of the tutorial is pretty straightforward. The area looks cool, you kill enemies, etc. But one thing I'd like to talk about before we continue is, in the first portion of the tutorial, before the Arkstone that teleports you to the rest, you can't really die, even if your health bar is emptied, which is really weird, and I really don't know why this is a thing. Even though it is highly unlikely that you die in this small area against these enemies, so I'm just confused. And I'm not even sure this is intended or not. So now going a bit further in, after the Arkstone that teleports you to Forlorn Outpost part of the tutorial, we go against stronger enemies than the Dreglings, and after a few rooms we encounter the first Blue-Eyed Knight. Now he's the second most threatening enemy of the tutorial, and one thing I'd like to say before we continue is, I really don't get what's the deal with the fog gates that leads to nothing, or just another room. I don't get the point of it. Is it just to make you think it's the boss and scare you away or something? So another thing that this tutorial does is, it already kind of rewards exploration by tucking a few grasses away, so neat. And now for the boss of the tutorial. So this game is Demon Souls, and so we fight a demon. Makes sense. It's pretty slow and predictable, but it does a lot of damage, and he will one or two shot you for sure. And that's good in a way, because it tells you that it's normal to die, dying is a part of this game, and you're gonna have to get used to it. I also have a little problem with that. You die in the Souls game, yes, but after that, you come back and can go fight the boss again. Get better, try a different strategy. But here you only have one shot, and if you blow it, you cannot try again, and you can't get your revenge on the same demon afterwards either. Unlike Genichiro, for example, that actually introduces himself as an antagonist and not just a random samurai guy that kills you and never comes back. But yeah, let's go back on track. I just think this is a bit lame. At least it's not scripted, and you can actually beat it, but you'll meet your death afterwards. But you still have the souls from the demon, so you still get something, and while it's also cool to be able to beat the unbeatable tutorial boss and get something, I think it could have been an option to just let you try again until you beat it. And at this point, a nerf would be required as well, so yeah. That's the Demon Souls tutorial. It's pretty good, but I have mixed feelings about the end of it. A tier. So, now for Dark Souls 1. Its tutorial is really good. So, we start in a cell of the Undead Asylum, And already, I think the place where we start makes more sense, and I'm not as confused or as clueless as I was when starting Demon Souls, so already a little plus. I'm an undead, and so I go in the Undead Asylum. Makes sense. So Oscar drops us a key, and I also like that there's actually an NPC in the tutorial to help you. And then we get out of the cell, and something and a lot of people never noticed is that there's actually this stray demon on the side behind the bars, and I think that being able to see him kind of ruined the surprise of seeing the asylum demon drop off later on. I mean, we still panic, but already knowing what it looks like makes the surprise all less surprising. But anyways, going forward, we see messages on the ground just like Demon Souls, which is a good thing, and we encounter the first enemies, passive hollows, and I see it as a good thing for the people who have never played a video game before, how to attack and log on, etc. It's an okay practice, because they're basically like vegetables, they won't do anything. We then have to climb a ladder, so nice, I guess. Introducing us to ladders, I see. So next, we'll add our first bonfire. And having a checkpoint in the tutorial is pretty good. Though you can't really do anything from it, so you just know it's a checkpoint and nothing else, which isn't true. But I guess we'll learn all about it once we arrive at Farthing Shrine. Next you open the door, and the Asylum Demon appears. And here, you can't really do any damage, and some people will die, just like with Demon Souls and the Vanguard Demon. But this time, we can come back, which fixed one of the problems I had with the Vanguard Demon. But the solution isn't to bump your head against the wall, it's to flee through the door to the left and get better equipment to fight it. And this is great, already teaching you that it's okay to die, and don't bump your head against the wall over and over, just go and get better equipment. So we continue to find an enemy shooting at us with a bow. We're invited to take cover on the left where, depending on the class we choose, we'll get a shield, and we equip it to block the arrows of the enemy. And I have a problem with this, but at the same time I kind of don't. So the first thing this game gives you is a shield, and immediately inviting you into this defensive, passive style of combat maybe isn't a great idea because it's not the most fun thing to play, but at the same time it's good for beginners to get familiarized with the game, so I really have mixed opinions about this one, and let's just hope the new players get rid of this shield and start dodging as soon as possible. So now we continue and get our weapon, and we can beat up the archer, and then we either go downstairs and open a shortcut, and even if this is like super close to where we're going, I guess it kind of invites people to explore just a bit more and also teaches them about shortcuts, so good. Next we get rolled on by a ball, and this will get our health down just enough for what happens next. We then kill the hollow who threw the boulder and try to open the door, but it's locked, and so we go back and notice a hole in the wall. It's Oscar, the guy who gave us the key. He tells us about the prophecy and gives us our objective for now. He then hands us the key to the door and the Estus flask, which allows us to heal the damage the boulder did to us, so yeah, that's its purpose. We then can continue and we kill a few enemies, and for the ranger, sorcerers, pyromancers and cleric, we pick up our catalyst, and for the ranger, our bow. But then there's just a few more enemies and no real way to test what we just acquired, so I think a nice change would have been maybe to have like a bow hollow on a hit to not be invited to hit melee, but to hit it without a range option. And for the classes without range options, maybe put some firebombs where the ranger got his bow. So next we can optionally go kill a hollow soldier, and you can practice parry on it. So just like the blue-eyed Demon Souls Knight. And making it optional is fine, doesn't change much. And next we can go on a little platform just above the Asylum's Demon's Arena, and we can jump on him to do a whole lot of damage, and that's really cool, telling you to, as well as coming back with better equipment, also to try new strategies is pretty great. But making you learn how to jump attack gets obsolete really quick. because the only other boss you can do this against is the Taurus demon. So yeah, weird thing to focus on 2 times at the beginning and never mention again. So next you can actually fight the Asylum demon with your new acquired gear. And I'd say it's an okay boss. It's quite simple, it's slow, its attacks have long wind-ups, and it doesn't have that much HP. He only has 3 attacks, and it teaches you that staying behind bosses and enemies is a good idea. So overall, solid boss, much better than Demon Souls, so yeah, that's Dark Souls. It teaches you a lot of things and overall prepares you really well for the rest of the game. It's not perfect, but I think it deserves an S. Now for Dark Souls 2. Its tutorial is pretty not good. Yeah. So we start before even choosing our class or name, which is a bit odd, but you know, it's not really a problem. We go forward and I'm really confused. What are we here exactly? What's the thing betwixt, like, and what are the weird cats just running around? I don't really get what this is. But anyways, we go forward and we enter a house and meet some old woman.
What seems to be the ruckus?
Oh my, your face. The face of the curse.
It's an undead. An undead has come to play. They all end up here. All the ones like...
You're finished. You'll go hollow. Yes, you'll become one of them.
This is the fate of the cursed.
All people come here for the same reason. To break the curse.
You're no different, I should think. Doesn't stand a chance.
Well, you never know. Go through the door and trot along to the kingdom.
But remember, hold on to your souls. They're all that keep you from going hollow. Oh, I'll fool you no longer. You'll lose your souls. All of them. Over and over again.
Well, that's not really nice. Like, where are the first NPCs assholes? Oscar was nice. He was near death and the last thing he did before going hollow was giving us a chance to continue and accomplish the prophecy. And also, one thing I hate about Dark Souls 2 that doesn't really have anything to do with this is, why are the hollows green? Why this cliche zombie look? I fucking hate it. The look from Dark Souls 1 was way more Dark Souls. Now I just look like a zombie, and while hollows and zombies have some similar traits, they're still different, and I don't like this bridge between the two they made with their appearance. But anyways, the old woman. I really don't like them at all. Fuck them. And for the people who will bring up the crestfallen knight, yeah, he wasn't nice, he just lost hope, and even there, he wasn't an asshole, and gave us actual advice and hints. So in the end, he was helpful, and actually had an end to his questline. After the primordial serpent appears, he finally decides to do something, but he goes to New Londo. A mistake. You'll find him hollow there, after finally deciding to do something. But the old ladies will just be sitting around for the whole game laughing like retards for no apparent reason. Like, who are they? Why are they doing nothing? Why are they trash talking me? Do you want me to play the game or not? I'll just fuck off if that's what you want. Sorry about that. So anyways, after finishing your character, you magically get all your equipment. And I doubt they gave it to you. So what just happened? Then get out of the house and light the bonfire and continue forward from there. You can either go straight forward to go to Majula, or do the tutorial by going through one of the 2 fog gates, and there's also another gate with a stone statue in front of it, and I guess it tells you to come back later and backtrack in a way. So okay, I guess. So the tutorial is completely optional, and it's fine, I don't really mind it. So now you can go through one of the fog gates, and basically it'll teach you the basics of the game, and it doesn't do a bad job of it, but the enemies in the setting is a bit lame, I think. Like, everything looks kind of the same. It's just tree roots engulfed in shadows. Like, Demon Souls tutorial had some cool landmarks, some vegetations, a more castle and outside part. Even the asylum was more pleasing than the lands betwixt, and there isn't a lot of variety in the enemies. But you know, Dark Souls 1 had the same level of variety, so Demon Souls take the crown on the enemy side, though the Asylum Demon stays better than the Vanguard. So, other than what it looks like, the tutorial doesn't do a bad job, and we even unlock a shortcut back to the main path at one point. And before the house, there's even a secret path where an ogre resides that can give us a cool ring. This reminds me of the Crystal Lizard of Dark Souls 3. It encourages exploration, as well as coming back when you have better equipment. So, the enemies themselves are of the same kind as the Dark Souls Hollows and Demon Souls Grunt, so not much to talk about. So you can go to a little area with 2 ogres, and when you beat them, you can go inside a coffin, and it will leave and come back. You will get out of the coffin, and your sex will have changed. What the fuck happened to me? Like, does this have any lore? Vatty, please do a video about the trans coffin from Dark Souls 2, I need to know more. And no tutorial boss? Damn you, B-Team. B tier. Now for Bloodborne. So, you spawn in Yusefka's clinic, and even though there is mystery, you still have an idea of why you're here, thanks to the opening cutscene. You continue forward in the clinic and read a note. Seek pale blood to transcend the hunt. So, you have a goal, kind of like ringing the 2 bells, but more vague. Later in the clinic, there's a wolf and we're going to get killed by it, because if we go forward, we're already in the first area. We appear in the hunter's dream, get our weapon and gun from the messengers. You don't get to choose an armor, and there's only 3 different weapons and 2 guns, so less variety, but at the same time, Bloodborne's arsenal is way more complex, and so I don't really mind it. Quality over quantity. And then, if you go to this side path that leads to nothing, you get a few messages in a row telling you things. And that's it. Wait, that's it? No bosses? No actually doing what the messages say? And they're tucked in a corner, in a sea of other messages if you're playing in multiplayer. Do you even want me to read them? No lessons teach, no advice, no nothing. And then you just go in Central Yanam, which is already one of the hardest first areas in the entire Soul series. What the fuck happened? There's barely any tutorials. I'm sorry, Bloodborne. You're an excellent game. My favorite of all time, in fact, but you don't even have a tutorial. D tier. So, now for Dark Souls 3. After the opening cinematic that nicely explains what you are and why you're rising from the dead, you wake up in the Cemetery of Ash, and it makes sense. Lord of Thunder won't light the fire, and so it's our job now. So, you wake up, already with the equipment of your class, and I guess you died in them, and so there's no reason you would rise without, so I'm fine with it. You go forward and encounter the enemies of this tutorial. Weak hollows, and this time they don't look like beef jerky like Dark Souls 1, or zombies like Dark Souls 2. This time look like Slenderman. Neat. And also, just like Dark Souls 1 and 2, and Demon Souls, you have messages along the way to tell you about the controls, etc. You have a tiny amount of exploration, and by exploration I mean a tiny hallway with a soul in it. Yeah. Amazing. So you continue and get your blue Estus for focus, and I don't really get why they would make you pick it up later. I mean, you already have your Estus flask, why not put the Estus flask with it, or already have the blue one? But anyways, you kill a few hollows and then you can go to a path where you can find a big crystal lizard, a little too strong early game. So yeah, again, that's a good thing. Telling you that it's okay to come back later to fight it. So going back to the main path, you light your first bonfire and then you can take a few different ways. If you jump from the ledge, you will get a Titan shard, and if you go down there on the edge, you can get fire bombs. And then the boss fight, so Lodeg's Gundyr himself is such a great boss, I really love him. And compared to all the other tutorial boss, he's my favorite. But as a tutorial boss, I'm not so sure. He's great at teaching people how to parry, with how big his parry windows are, but he might be a little too intimidating for people to try and parry him. So I'm not sure if he's doing that good of a job teaching people how to parry. And he's hard, like, much harder than any other tutorial boss, but he does prepare new players really well for the rest of the game, compared to the Vanguard, who didn't leave any chances, and the Asylum Demon, who was a little too easy. And maybe that's a good thing. A tier. Now for Sekiro. So, we're starting in this tiny sort of cave, and again, this makes sense, I am not confused. But we don't have our sword, and I think this is a good idea. It allows us to focus on our movement and infiltration. And so, I think teaching us things, while also restricting others for now, is a good thing. So, we get out of the cave by jumping, and this time around, no messages. And even though there are no other wolf in other worlds to create messages, I think notes left by someone who wants to help us get out would be appreciated. Maybe Emma could take that role, since she was here like 5 minutes ago, but it doesn't matter that much, so I'll let it pass. So you walk along the wall and then we're invited to crouch in stealth. So we know how that works now, and we then go under a building, and that's nice, informing us of little places like that. So we then continue and jump around, and then we arrive at the Moonview Tower. We meet Kuro. He gives us a sword, and because we're smart fellas, we go up the stairs for 3 items, and then we get out of there. The few enemies are spam to win, so really new player friendly. Then there's parry once, so you know, it's fine. And then we encounter the first mini-boss with 2 HP bars, and I think it would have been cool to make him be able to be stealth killed somewhere, because it's a thing possible to do against the majority of the bosses, and not teaching people about that, like, why not do it? And I think making an optional little path to arrive behind him would have been cool. But the mini-boss himself is alright. I mean, he's as simple as a mini-boss can be, and he's optional, so I appreciate that. So next we do a bit of parkour and we kill a big rat. That's not a rat, Asian. And then we meet the Divine Heir, but oh no, Genichiro fights us. And wake up at the main hub of the game, just like the Vanguard Demon does. But this time I'm not mad, because as I said when we were talking about him, instead of throwing a random demon who kills us and doesn't give us any second chance, Genichiro is an antagonist. So yeah, I'm not mad, and we already have a mini-boss before to practice dying and coming back, so yeah, good Sekiro. So he's too hard for any beginner to beat, but you're supposed to die, so I mean that's fine. And you can actually beat him, but you just get a slightly lamer cutscene. And that's lame. At least Demon Souls gave us some money. You get nothing for Genny. What the hell? A tier. And now for Elden Ring. So we're starting this church thing, and we're on a fucking cliff. What the fuck am I doing here? And our maiden is dead. We take her finger, and this allows us to open the door. Why? So we continue, no enemies at all, until a human crab walks in. You can either die or... which is cool, actual items, but you can come back here later anyways, and it's the same case as Genichiro, but if Geni wasn't the character and stayed in the first area you met him in. So yeah, I don't really like that. So if you beat the human crab child, the game pulls an epic prank on you when you fall off of the mountain. So then, you wake up in this underground graveyard 100 kilometers away from where you were. So if anyone has an explanation, please tell me in the comments. And then, this nice and developed character that I love, for some reason was taking a walk in this cave with her horse, even though it's impossible to enter a cave with horses, and does nothing. And now, we can drop down to the tutorial, so yeah. Alright, optional tutorial, just like Dark Souls 2. Sure. So, we jump down and get a grace. You go forward and oh my god. What? Why? Why not use the messages? You did it for all your other games except Sekiro. But you have this message system, what's going on? And Sekiro pop-ups were the start of the game and didn't take too much place. But this takes the whole screen, pauses the game, and they take 2 hours to say, click R1 to attack. Like, what? I don't get it. This is just a downgrade. What happened to explaining simple controls and messages, and then organically teaching me things by making me do them? And then the whole cave is just walking straight and killing some vegetables. Why? And then the boss is the hardest boss in video game history. What the fuck? This is the tutorial. No, but seriously. It's just a normal enemy. Why did you do this? And then your reward for all this is an emote. Why? This isn't even teaching me what a boss is, except from going in a fog while being stuck in there, and him having a HP bar display at the bottom of the screen. He has nothing else of a boss whatsoever. Like, what happened? This is the worst tutorial I've seen in a long time, and the only reason I'm placing it in C tier is because there's Bloodborne, who doesn't even have a tutorial. So yeah, that's about it. This video was longer than I expected, but I think it would be interesting to talk about this really unpopular opinion in the Souls community. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed. I don't have any ideas for a quirky outro, so I guess subscribe and bye, I guess.